Morte D'Arthur, Sir Thomas Malory, Chapter 2. How Uther Pendragon made war on the Duke of Cornwall, and how by the mean of Merlin he lay by the Duchess and gat Arthur. Then Ulfius was glad, and rode on more than a pace till that he came to King Uther Pendragon, and told him he had met with Merlin. Where is he? Said the king. Sir, said Ulfius, he will not dwell long. Therewithal, Ulfius was where Merlin stood at the porch of the pavilion's door. And then Merlin was bound to come to the king. When King Uther saw him, he said he was welcome. Sir, said Merlin, I know all your heart every deal. So you will be sworn unto me, as ye be a true king anointed, to fulfill my desire. Ye shall have your desire. Then the king was sworn upon the 4 evangelists. Sir, said Merlin, this is my desire. The first night that ye shall lie by Igraine, ye shall get a child on her, and when that is born, that it shall be delivered to me, for to nourish there as I will have it, for it shall be your worship, and the child's avail as mickle as the child is worth. I will well, said the king, as thou wilt have it. Now make ye ready, Merlin, said Merlin. This night ye shall lie with Igraine in the castle of Tintagel, and ye shall be like the duke her husband. Ulfius shall be like Sir Brastias, a knight of the duke's, and I will be like a knight that hight Sir Jordanus, a knight of the duke's. But wait ye make not many questions with her nor her men, but say ye are diseased, and so hide to your bed, and rise not on the morn till I come to you, for the castle of Tintagel is but 10 miles hence. So this was done as they devised. But the Duke of Tintagel espied how the king rode from the siege of Terrabil, and therefore that night he issued out of the castle at a postern, for to have distressed the king's host. And so, through his own issue, the duke himself was slain, or ever the king came at the castle of Tintagel. So after the death of the duke, King Uther lay with Igraine more than 3 hours after his death, and begat on her that night Arthur. And on day came to Merlin to the king, and bade him make him ready. And so he kissed the lady Igraine, and departed in all haste. But when the lady heard tell of the duke her husband, and by all record he was dead, or ever King Uther came to her, then she marveled who that might be lay with her in likeness of her lord. So she mourned privily, and held her peace. Then all the barons by one assent prayed the king of accord betwixt the lady Igraine and him. The king gave them leave, for fain would he have been accorded with her. So the king put all the trust in Ulfius to entreat between them. So by the entreaty at the last, the king and she met together. Now will we do well, said Ulfius. Our king is a lusty knight and wifeless, and my lady Igraine is a passing fair lady. It were great joy unto us all, and it might please the king to make her his queen. And to that they all well accorded, and moved it to the king, and anon, like a lusty knight, he assented thereto with good will. And so in all haste they were married in the morning with great mirth and joy. And King Lot of Lothian and Orkney then wedded Margos, that was Gawaine's mother, and King Nentres of the land of Garlet wedded Elaine. All this was done at the request of King Uther. And the third sister, Morgan le Fay, was put to school in a nunnery, and there she learned so much that she was a great clerk of necromancy. And after she was wedded to King Uriens of the land of Gore. That was Sir Owen le Blanchemain's father. Merlin explains to Igraine that Arthur is the son of Uther. The two agree not to reveal the child's origin, but hide him with a foster family. Chapter 4 of the death of King Uther Pendragon. Then, within 2 years, King Uther fell sick of a great malady, and in the meanwhile his enemies usurped upon him, and did a great battle upon his men, and slew many of his people. Sir, said Merlin, ye may not lie so as ye do, for ye must to the field, though ye ride on a horse litter, for ye shall never have the better of your enemies, but if your person be there. And then shall ye have the victory. So it was done as Merlin had devised, and then carried the king forth in a horse litter, with a great host toward his enemies. And at St. Albans there met with the king a great host of the north. And that day Sir Ulfius and Sir Brastias did great deeds of arms, and King Uther's men overcame the northern battle and slew many people, and put the remnant to flight. And then the king returned unto London, and made great joy of his victory. And then he fell passing sore sick, so that 3 days and 3 nights he was speechless. Wherefore all the barons made great sorrow, and asked Merlin what counsel were best. There is none other remedy, said Merlin, but God will have his will. But look ye all, barons, be before King Uther to morn, and God and I shall make him to speak. So on the morn all the barons with Merlin came to fore. The king then Merlin said aloud unto King Uther, Sir, shall your son Arthur be king after your days of this realm, with all the appurtenance? Then Uther Pendragon turned him, and said in hearing of them all, I give him God's blessing and mine, and bid him pray for my soul, and righteously and worshipfully, that he claims the crown upon forfeiture of my blessing, and therewith he yielded up the ghost. And he was interred as longed to a king. Wherefore the queen, Fair Igraine, made great sorrow, and all the barons. Chapter 5. How Arthur was chosen king, and of wonders and marvels of a sword taken out of his stone by the said Arthur. Then stood the realm in great jeopardy long while, for every lord that was mighty of men made him strong, and many weened to have been king. Then Merlin went to the Archbishop of Canterbury, and counselled him for to send for all the lords of the realm, and all the gentlemen of arms, so that they should to London come by Christmas upon pain of cursing, and for this cause, that Jesus, that was born on that night, that he would of his great mercy show some miracle, as he was come to be king of mankind, for to show some miracle, who should be rightwise king of this realm. So the archbishop, by the advice of Merlin, sent for all the lords and gentlemen of arms, that they should come by Christmas even unto God. So in the greatest church of London, whether it were Paul's or not, the French book maketh no mention, all the estates were long or day in the church for to pray. And when matins and the first mass was done, there was seen in the churchyard against the high altar a great stone foursquare, like unto a marble stone, and in midst thereof was like an anvil of steel a foot on high. And therein stuck a fair sword naked by the point, and letters there were written in gold about the sword, and that said thus, Whoso pulleth out this sword of this stone and anvil is rightwise king born of all England. Then the people marveled, and told it to the archbishop. I command, said the archbishop, that ye keep you within your church, and pray unto God still, that no man touch the sword till the high mass be all done. So when all masses were done, all the lords went to behold the stone and the sword. And when they saw the scripture, some essayed, such as would have been king, but none might stir the sword nor move it. He is not here, said the archbishop, that shall achieve the sword, but doubt not God will make him known. But this is my counsel, said the archbishop, that we let purvey 10 knights, men of good fame, and they keep this sword. So it was ordained. And then there was made a cry, that every man should essay that would, for to win the sword. And upon New Year's Day the barons let make joust and a tournament, that all knights that would joust or tourney there might play. And all this was ordained, for to keep the lords together and the commons. For the archbishop trusted that God would make him known, that should win the sword.